let's talk about one of the most important inventions in human history, the novel. Now, if I asked you when it was created, you might say the 18th century, right? Well, what if I told you the real answer is over 1,000 years ago? That's the incredible claim we're going to dig into today. And I'm not just talking about any old long story. When I say modern novel, I mean a story with deep psychological realism, with characters that feel real, who are complicated and messy. You know, the kind of storytelling we think of as a pretty recent invention. But what if its roots go way, way deeper than we've been taught? And here's the part that makes this story truly unbelievable. The person who arguably engineered this entire literary revolution was a court lady in medieval Japan. And get this, her actual given name, it's been lost to time. An anonymous genius who literally changed the world of literature. So how on earth did that happen? To really get the book, first, we have to understand the world that made the author. It was this unique time and place that turned out to be the perfect, if completely unintentional, incubator for literary genius. Okay, so welcome to the Heian period in Japan. I want you to picture a society so peaceful and stable that its elite, the ruling class, dedicated almost all their energy to, well, to the pursuit of beauty. This wasn't just a fun pastime. Your skill in poetry and music, even in how you conducted a romance, that was everything. It determined your social standing. Now check out this linguistic setup. You had the men, who did all the official government and scholarly business in Chinese. That was the language of power. But the women, they were excluded from that world, so they developed their own rich literary culture using Kana, the native Japanese script. And here's the incredible paradox. Being locked out of the official language gave them the total freedom to create something brand new, a literature all about feelings, personal thoughts, and real human expression. But our author, who we know today as Murasaki Shikibu, she was different. She broke the rules. She grew up with her scholar father and secretly became fluent in the Chinese classics. She got an education that was totally forbidden for women at the time. And this forbidden knowledge, well, that would become the secret ingredient in her masterpiece. Her own life really provided the raw material for her art. She got married, but her husband died just a couple of years later, and it was then that she started writing Genji. Her talent was so obvious that she was invited to serve the empress, which gave her a front-row seat to all the court drama, the politics, the secret romances, everything she would write about so brilliantly. The court was basically her laboratory. All right, so with all that backstory, let's dive into the book itself. What exactly makes the Tale of Genji the blueprint for the modern novel? What did Murasaki do that was just so revolutionary? First, let's just get on the same page. A modern novel isn't just a long romance. Number one, it's got to be grounded in reality. No god swooping down, no magic swords. And number two, this is the big one, it's about the inner lives of its characters. It explores why they do what they do, their complicated thoughts and feelings, and how they change over time. And you can see the massive leap Genji took right here. Before Murasaki, stories were often episodic, and the characters were pretty flat. They just kind of did things. Genji, on the other hand, is all about sustained introspection. Instead of myths and fantasy, it's laser-focused on the real customs and emotional truths of court life. It's just on a completely different level. The book's structure alone is just staggering. It's a huge 3-act epic. It follows its hero, the so-called Shining Prince, Genji, from his wild youth through his climb to power, and then, even after his death, it continues on to explore the lives of the next generation. That massive scope lets us see how people and relationships evolve over decades, just like in real life. And then, after the Shining Prince Genji is gone, the story does something absolutely wild. It just keeps going. The focus shifts to this new character, Kaoru, who's this troubled, morally gray figure. You could absolutely make the case that he is literature's very first anti-hero, a deeply flawed, psychologically complex person, not some perfect hero from a legend. And the ending is just as radical. It just stops abruptly. It leaves the main character just kind of hanging, wondering what happened next. There's no neat little bow at the end. It feels incredibly modern, right? Like the end of The Sopranos. It's a slice of life that admits that in the real world, stories don't always have clean endings. But really, the structure and the characters, that's only half of it.
What truly elevates Genji to a masterpiece is its emotional and philosophical soul. The entire 1,300-page novel is soaked in this idea called mono-no-aware. It's this beautiful Japanese concept. It's the pathos of things. It's that bittersweet feeling you get when you see the cherry blossoms and know they won't last. It's an awareness that everything, life, beauty, love, is temporary. And that awareness tinges everything in the story with a kind of beautiful sadness. And this was a totally deliberate choice. Murasaki's famous rival at court, Sei Shōnagon, wrote with a different aesthetic. Okashi, which is all about wit, charm, and clever observations. But Murasaki rejected that. She chose the harder path of mono-no-aware. She was going for deep emotional tragedy, not just superficial delight. So how did she manage to express this huge, complex feeling? Mostly through poetry. There are almost 800 poems woven directly into the story. In the Heian Court, poems weren't just pretty words. They were how you communicated, how you flirted, how you expressed grief, how you shared a secret. It was the language of the heart. And this is where her genius is just on another level. She creates all these different characters, and every single one of them has their own distinct poetic voice. A single poem can tell you everything about a character's inner world. It's not just decoration, it's an absolutely incredible feat of characterization. The impact of this book wasn't just literary. For 1,000 years, the Tale of Genji has been a central pillar of Japanese culture. I mean, its influence is just everywhere. From the very first illustrated scrolls, which are now national treasures, to screen paintings, lacquer boxes, even incense burners. It inspired great poets and Nobel Prize-winning novelists, and it's still being reimagined today in modern manga, anime, and movies. It's never gone away.
Think about this for a second. The novel became so foundational, so essential to the culture, that within a couple of hundred years, you literally couldn't be a serious poet in Japan if you hadn't memorized the Tale of Genji. It was the absolute bedrock of their entire literary tradition.
And we're still finding new ways to understand it. Today, it's widely seen as a trailblazing work of feminism. Murasaki was writing from deep inside a patriarchal system, but she gave her female characters such incredible agency, depth, and a sense of solidarity. She was using her art to critique the world around her, which makes it a powerful social document too. Which really leaves us with this one last thought. A woman who is officially excluded from the language of power, whose own name is lost to us, used her unique position on the sidelines to see the world in a new way, and invented an entirely new way to tell stories. It really makes you wonder, what revolutionary art, what new ways of seeing our world are being created right now by people on the margins whose voices we just haven't learned to hear yet?